Hey, what's going on, everybody? Thanks for watching CTM Sports Live. Those who come in or watch it later, appreciate all the support. We're about to get right into it, but what we do at CTM Sports, we try to make content to give insight and information based on regular people's perspective. We're not celebrities, we're not rich, we're just regular working people. Make sure to watch the Thinking Game on Thursdays. We did one on Tuesday because we're not going to be able to do it this Thursday or tomorrow. Also, watch CTM Sports as I get time. I make these. And also, please be sure to support the channel. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the share button. Help us grow, whether on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, or TikTok. Thanks for watching. We're finna get right into it. So, first topic of today is LeBron and Bronny on the court. They debuted, I think that was last night. So, with that being said, shout out to LeBron, man, getting his son on. Shout out to Bronny for stepping into it. He didn't score any points, but he played on the court the same as his dad. Which if you don't have a hater bone in your body, which we're gonna get to on the next slide, any son, any dad would want to do something great with their son. Why wouldn't you want to do that? But everybody gonna have something to say because it's giving them clicks, because it's giving them views. So they gonna do everything they can to kind of like dump salt on it and dump dirt on it and all that. But at the end of the day, most dudes wish they can provide that privilege to their kids. If you honest about it. So I don't have nothing negative to say about it. I think it's awesome. I think Lord willing, put me in a position where I can give privilege to my daughter and son. I definitely would do it. Don't care what nobody think. Any parent that got any kind of sense of awareness, you would want to get in position or own something where you can put your kids in position. But that's gonna go into our next slide. 80% of people hate what they cannot do, whether in sports, whether in regular life. 80% of people hate what they cannot do. There are 80% of the people they can't get their kid drafted. They can't get their kid hired on. They can't do those things. They don't have the privilege. They don't have that favor. They just don't have whatever it takes to get that done. So a lot of people are gonna hate on that. And that's just how the game go. When you're great and when you're good at something, you can expect it's probably gonna be mostly hate than it is support. And that just come with being great. When you look at some of these guys that's great and they have like millions of followers, how many of those millions of followers do you think really support them, or are they really looking just to see or hate or say something crazy behind the keyboard? Just think about that. But 80% of people hate what they cannot do, and it's 80% of people is where they can't get their kid, you know, pulled out of a crowd or picked over a lot of people. They just don't have that kind of privilege and they don't have that kind of greatness to even afford something like that to. And shout out to the Lakers, man, for making that happen. Shout out to them, man, because it wasn't easy. They probably knew the hate was gonna come, but man, listen, that happens all the time on the other side of the fence. There are a lot of companies out there, record labels, everything where they'll just pass it to the kid, no credentials, no nothing, because that's their dad. Dad was the executive. He wanted his son to get in that circle, and that's what happens. Nobody says anything because you want your job, so you chill. But when somebody on our side do it, it's a problem. And sometimes it be your own people, and that 80% that'll hate on you. Unreal. but it's true. Sometimes greatness attracts hate because it touches people's insecurity of what they don't have or what they can't execute like you can because of your greatness.
You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
And when you really think about, the hate and the bashing, I get the criticism and critique, but when you just do it to the point where it start becoming personal, it just get crazy. It's like, what is the what is every time you talk about it is always a negative, is always hate. I get you criticizing it here and there, but man, it's like every time you look at it, talk about it, it's something negative. But everybody has their own preference. But what I will say is, like I said, greatness comes with positive affirmation. It comes with hate as well. Some people just don't like the fact that you're great at something that they're not, instead of focusing on what they can be great on. And I'm going to leave it just like that. So, talking about that, 80% of the hating on greatness, why most men are declining in their corporate value. Let me know in the comments what you think about that. Why are most men declining in corporate value? I would love to hear the answer. If somebody come back and watch this later, let me know.
You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
In my opinion, going around the world, but in my opinion, a lot of guys, because I was in this group, I was in this category as well. A lot of guys, a lot of men in general, not just it's not just race, every color across the spectrum. We have gotten lazy over time. We don't want to put in the work. We don't want to put in the time. We don't want to invest time into our development. I don't know if it's a thing you're supposed to be handed to you or you just don't want to do it. But matter of fact, I'm gonna show you the spectrum we talked about on the podcast. I think it's still on here. Turn this banner off real quick. There are some things in life that you have to think about. Let's do this. I need to make another one. A lot of times, when I'm in school, because I'm going to school, I'm about to graduate this year in undergrad, my 4-year degree. There was a time I wasn't even thinking about school. I think I got an associate's degree and I stopped. Why? I don't know. I should have kept going. I'm being accountable with me. And why reason why I'm saying that is a lot of men, even though they don't want to admit it, when you don't up your value, you are not qualified. In my opinion, there are a lot of men we just not qualified to be in those positions, either because you didn't get the education or you lack the experience in that field that you're trying to grow in. A lot of young men don't want to further their education, whether in a trade, whether in higher education or college education or any kind of certification. And it's showing. There are so many career shortages in trades, most jobs, and people are trying to hire and keep coverage best they can. Even regular jobs, people not even working those. And what I would say is, men as a whole, if we don't step our game up in the corporate world, if we don't step our game up, we're gonna keep declining in corporate value. It's just how it is. You can't you can't shortcut it. You can't bypass it. You can't dance around it. You have to put in the work. You have to have that SECM skill set, education, communication, and mindset. You got to have those four. You have to constantly be working on those four, or you will start getting a diminished return on your value. So, with that being said, this is one of the reasons, probably could be a main reason why I think a lot of men are declining. I had to learn this myself as a 41-year-old about to graduate. The sacrifice it takes to become great and have favor and perks, right? It takes sacrifice. You're not going to be able to hang out with everybody else. You're not going to be able to have probably fun times like you want to. I know people say you got to live life, but guess what? Before you start living, you need to think about how do you live a life of balance and being able to maintain your lifestyle. Because if you don't, you're gonna have fun, but when you reach your 30s, if you don't do this in your 20s, and I'm telling you, you should do it in your 20s. There's no wiggle room. I'm telling you, you should make the sacrifice and not go out all the time and invest time into your development and education. You should do that. Hands down, you should do that. If you don't do that, you're gonna get to your late 20s and 30s, and you're gonna realize that you're not making enough. And then it's gonna be another angle to that is you're gonna try to fill out for jobs this you think they pay more money, but they're gonna tell you you're not qualified based on X, Y, Z. So we have to step up as men. Everybody's not gonna be a pro athlete. Everybody's not gonna be an entertainer. Everybody's not gonna be an actor. And in the middle of that, spectrum, there are regular people. There are career fields out there that pay great money, but you have to make the sacrifice and put in the work, whether it's 4 years, 6 years. I think to be a doctor, it may be 8, almost 10 years of education. But when you get to the finish line of however many years you got to take, even apprenticeship, I think it may be 4 or 5 years. But when you get to the finish line, though, not only can you have fun, but it can be maintained fun. And you can afford it. Plus, have a lifestyle that sustains that. Like, as far as having all your bills paid, having, a roof that's paid for over your head or pretty close. You don't have to overextend your budget to do these things. But you have to make the sacrifice on the front end. Look at all the great players. They had to make a sacrifice. Kobe had to make a sacrifice. Look at the video. They on YouTube. He talks about it, waking up 4 in the morning, sometimes before that. He work out almost 6 or 8 hours before the practice. He's putting in the work. Jordan had to work out with Tim Grover, had to put in the extra work in the offseason, had to work on his game. Hakeem Olajuwon worked on his game. Shaq worked on his game for a minute, but it was a lot to keep up with greatness. The sacrifice it's not just one situation, it's a maintained lifestyle to sacrifice certain pleasures or certain things for a certain amount of time in order to get an exponential gain or get to that level of greatness. It's going to cost you something. It's going to cost you. But the question is, how bad do you want it? Some people don't want it bad enough. They're like, I don't want to make this sacrifice. And that's fine. But I always say, if you don't want to put in the work, you don't want to sacrifice, don't complain about your results. Because whether you believe it or not,
I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
believe it or not, or however you want to cut it, anybody, I tell myself this, I am where I am because of my decisions and my choices. I'm going to tell you that you are where you are because of your decisions and your choices. Whether you want to argue with that, whether you want to disagree with that, that's up to you. But if you really be accountable and think about, you are where you are because of your decisions and your choices. Remember that. And remember, it's a sacrifice to become great. Anybody can be mediocre and be regular, but it's a different level to make that sacrifice and become great and have favor and perks. I'm learning that daily, that it's a sacrifice. And if I would have learned this earlier, that's why I'm giving this insight to the youth. That's why I'm giving it to my young people. Even if you middle age, like I started school late. Even if you start school late, there's going to be a sacrifice in time that you have to invest in your education. You may have to work full time and go to school full time. You got to figure it out. You may have to take a pay cut and maybe work at the college and go to school and get the discount. You may have to do that. You may have to take a pay cut and get a job that's flexible so you can go to school. You may have to, if you want to do an apprenticeship, you may have to stop working at their retail store and go work at the apprenticeship and learn and for those 4 years until you get to the journeyman level. And now you at a better place that you can maintain and you're constantly growing instead of just being linear and you have a ceiling over your head. But let me know in the comments what you think. Do you think in order to become great, it's a sacrifice? You got to put in the work. Or do you think it's just given to you? In my opinion, it ain't given to you. You got to work to get it. And once again, I'm going to tell you again.
You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
You are where you are because of your decisions and your choices. You have to be accountable with yourself and understand that. And you have to tell yourself, I am where I am. I tell myself this all the time. I am where I am because of my decisions and choices. If you want to be in a better situation, make better decisions and better choices. If not, you can do what you want to do. If not, don't complain about the results or the situation that you're in. But if you're complaining about it, before you start complaining, look at how you got to where you are now. Look at that. So with that being said, this is Mike. Thanks for watching CTM Sports Live. Like, share, and subscribe. Help us grow. Be sure to watch the Thinking Game podcast. Thanks for watching. This is Mike, and I'm signing out.
That boy is good. Good and terrible.